The Detroit Lions may be the most confusing team in the NFL. I truly have no idea what to think of them. Are they a playoff team?
Well, duh.
Are they good?
I mean, it's all right. Like,
sometimes just feels like it depends on the game. Now, I like the Lions. I'm really rooting for them to make a run in the postseason. They've had so many years of disappointment and bad football, and I'm so happy to see them even just make the playoffs, get double-digit wins probably. But honestly, I just don't think they're good enough. The biggest problem is you just don't know which Detroit team is going to show up week to week. But first, thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. The weather might be cooling down outside, but the action on the field staying hot. And luckily for you, today we've partnered up with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NFL, and they're going to help you get close to all the action. Right now, customers who bet $5 on any wager can get $150 back in bonus bets instantly. Make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use our code JDPROD, and the crown is yours. If you're already signed up for DraftKings like I am, you can get a no sweat bet. Get a bonus bet back if your same game parlay or same game parlay X doesn't hit. Max reward limits do apply. Are you a fan of multiple teams? Well, you can add all those bets together for a chance at an even bigger payout. And if sports betting isn't yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers who use our promo code JDPROD can bet $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets back instantly. That's promo code JDPROD only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Thank you again to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video, and let's get right back to it. Even in the course of one game, it feels like there's two different Lions teams out there, and Week 13 was truly the perfect example of that. The Lions ended up playing the Saints, and it looked like the game was over about halfway through the first quarter. Before you even blinked, the Lions had scored 3 straight touchdowns and were up 21-0. Usually, when you're up 21-0, 8 minutes left in the first quarter of a game, you run away with it. You blow the other team out. Well, the Lions didn't, and they nearly lost the game. The Saints rattled off 3 straight touchdowns. They were down just 24-21 until the final play of the third quarter when they hit a field goal to go up 6. New Orleans had a real chance to win this game where they trailed by 21 7 minutes in. That is just completely inexcusable for Detroit. The Saints were down 33-28 with 7:30 left, and they just couldn't score. But truly, they just never should have even had a shot to come back in the game. Now, what makes this Lions team so complicated is sometimes they look completely dominant. They're firing on all cylinders. No one can stop them. And then just with the flip of a switch, all of a sudden, you have no idea what they're doing. They're out there, and they just look completely lost. And that is what worries me the most about Detroit. Now, the week before the Saints win, they played on Thanksgiving, and they lost to the Packers. Jordan Love just absolutely carved them up like a turkey, and Green Bay scored 20 points just in the first quarter. Detroit ended up losing 29-22 to a Packers team that was 4-6 coming into the game. No one really thought that Green Bay team was very good. Now they very well could make the playoffs, maybe as a wild card team, but no one thinks this Packers team is a great team. The Lions had supposedly turned the page and were now the kings of the North. Well, you can't still be losing to the Packers, if that's true. Now, before that, Detroit had won 3 straight, but they weren't winning convincingly, and they weren't playing great teams either. They beat the Raiders 26-14, and what ended up being the final game for Josh McDaniels as their head coach, and then they beat the struggling Chargers by 3 and the Bears by just 5. Those are 5 teams that I think are all going to have a different head coach next season than they did this year. You shouldn't only be beating them by 1 possession. Now, the Lions are winning, but they're supposed to be crushing teams. And this has all kind of come after a blowout loss to the Ravens. They lost 38-6 in a complete embarrassment. Baltimore exposed them, and I really don't think the Lions have quite looked the same since. Before that Ravens game, I really did think that the Lions were one of the best teams in football, and I haven't thought that again since. Remember, Detroit started the season with that big win over the Chiefs on Thursday to kick off the year. They did lose to the Seahawks in overtime right after, but at the time, you know what, we thought that was a pretty good Seattle team. They played well in that game. And then they turn around, they beat the Falcons, Packers, Panthers, and Buccaneers. Those are all teams you're expected to beat. But here's the thing. None of those games were by one score. They beat them pretty good. Detroit was clearly better, and I just don't think that team is still there. The Lions are still good, and they're going to make the playoffs for a reason. But I really do wonder how they stack up in the NFC. There's only 4 teams in the conference with a winning record, which isn't great. I think the AFC is much, much better this year. There's the 10-2 Eagles, the 9-3 Cowboys, and the 9-3 49ers. Now, serious question. Do you think the Lions are better than any of those 3 teams? Because I don't. I mean, the 49ers are crushing teams, and they blew out the Eagles and the Cowboys. I think they're the best team in the conference. They might be the best team in the league. I think the Eagles are once again a very, very good football team. I don't think they're quite as great as they were last season, but they're very good. The Cowboys have been great. Dak Prescott has been playing on a different level. CeeDee Lamb having a career year. That defense is still scary. I think Dallas is a very good team. I really hope they choke, obviously. Same with the Eagles. But truly, I do think that any of those teams could make a run in the postseason because they've consistently looked good. The Lions, I just don't know. I am rooting for the Lions. Other than the Lions and the Niners, I really don't like the Eagles and the Cowboys. And as much as I want to believe in them, and as much as I want them to be better, I just can't take them over the Eagles or the Cowboys. I just think those 2 teams have looked better on a consistent basis all year. The reality is the Lions are a good team, but they should be better. I mean, for one, Jared Goff, I think he's been perfect for what this team wants to do. When they traded Matt Stafford to the Rams, I was shocked that the Lions were actually super interested in Jared Goff, wanted Jared Goff, and his redemption arc in Detroit has been incredible this season. He's got 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And then you look at his wide receiver. Oh my goodness. Amon-Ra St. Brown just keeps getting better. He's got over 1,000 yards already, 6 touchdowns. He is truly becoming a very, very reliable wide receiver 1 in this league. Now, when you look at the Lions this year compared to last year, I think one of the biggest changes, benefits for this team has been the rookies. Now, admittedly, I didn't love the Lions draft, at least in the first round. I was very vocal about that, and I stick with that. I'm never going to be a fan of drafting a running back or drafting an off-ball linebacker in the first round, let alone doing both. Jack Campbell, I think, has been solid. I think he's going to end up being a good player. And the same thing goes with Jahmyr Gibbs. I just don't think you take those guys in the first round. But Gibbs has already shown some flashes, but he still hasn't been the Lions' leading rusher. It has been David Montgomery. He's got over 700 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's played in less games than Jahmyr Gibbs. Montgomery has really been that goal line back. He's gotten more carries. I think they signed him in the offseason for a reason. I think Deion Branch has been playing really well. He was a second-round pick I really wanted Washington to take. But I think the big name for the Lions when it comes to rookies has really been Sam Laporta above all else. And I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL for a long time. Here's the moral of the story, man. Always draft Iowa tight ends. We probably should have figured that out by now. George Kittle, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson. Draft Iowa tight ends. This is pretty simple. Laporta has just been fantastic. It feels like he keeps getting better every single week. He just had 140 yards and a touchdown against the Saints. He's got 680 this year and 8 touchdowns. Overall, I think this team has a good roster. They've gotten a lot better. They have good players, and I think they have good coaching too. Dan Campbell has done a great job in Detroit. I was very skeptical when they first brought him in, but man, he's really changed the culture. Absolutely love Dan Campbell. I think he's a fan favorite now. Played in Detroit. Just makes sense. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. I mean, he's going to be a hot head coach candidate. He's a guy that I'd love Washington to call. I think he'd work perfectly with the Commanders' new ownership ownership can kind of take over from there. But Ben Johnson's going to be getting a lot of calls. He's going to be getting a lot of interviews, so we're going to have to see what happens with him. Still unsure on Aaron Glenn. He's done a great job playing against really good offenses like Patrick Mahomes, but then all of a sudden you get ran all over by the Packers. He feels kind of hit or miss sometimes, but I think at least the pass defense has been pretty good. More than anything, it's just really weird for me to think that this Lions franchise has completely turned around. I mean, they were so bad for so long, and I gotta say, I'm so happy for you Lions fans, man. I hopefully Washington can get there soon too. It's just so easy to like Detroit and, you know, want them to win. Just sadly, I don't think they're fully there yet. It's a good team, but the Lions just aren't there, and I'm sorry. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know down below what you guys think of the Lions. Obviously, this is a playoff team. They're going to win the NFC North. They're going to be there. They're not going to have a bye, but they're going to be there. Do you think this team could actually beat an Eagles or a Cowboys or a Niners? You know, I think maybe you could get the Cowboys on a bad night, but there haven't been many bad nights for the Eagles or the Niners. I really do hope I end up being wrong, but just for now, I can't see it. So let me know down below. If you don't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media at JDProdNFL. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter at DIIDLAKE, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.